Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Natasha Marie Nurse, who is a co-author of Business Success Strategies for Women on the Rise. Natasha, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here.
Are you ready to get started?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's get to it. Question number 1. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I would say number one piece of advice would be to be fearless, because I think when you write your story, that's when you are kind of in the middle of a lot of self-doubt and a lot of vulnerability, and it's easy to give up. It's easy to say, am I going to really get this published? Are people going to really read this? Do I really have the time to do this? But if you take a stance of like, no, I am a warrior. I am a writing warrior goddess. Nothing is going to stand in my way. I'm going to make time for it, even if it's 5 minutes a day that I can only write, even if it takes me a year to get this published, 2 years to get this published. I think you have to, if you look at any successful author, and again, everyone has to find their own level of success, but generally, authors that are beloved in our society, they all have stories of rejection. They all have stories of so many people said that this couldn't happen, that they wouldn't be able to do this, but they persevered and they pushed past. And a part of that is because they were just hungry enough for their dream, and they were fearless. Because if you allow fear to stop you, then you aren't living the life that you are worthy of and that you deserve. And so that would be my number one advice.
And one of the mantras I always teach my clients is don't be afraid to take the plunge.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
So for me, I would say so far it has been, I've had kind of a great journey in that my book is, as a co-author, has been a part of an anthology. So I was doing this process with other women. So essentially I just had to get narrowly focused on my section and, giving my chapter and sharing my story and making sure the words that I shared in this book are the words that I wanted to share, that they were words that reflected my journey. They were words that were going to be both inspirational and educational. But generally, if you don't go kind of the route of an anthology, you're responsible for everything, right? And if you do it alone, if you don't work with other people. So I think, with publishing, there's challenges in either figuring out if you're doing it through self-publishing, if you're going to try to work with a publisher, the writing piece. I mean, I think there are obstacles and challenges along each way. And I think depending upon who you are, you can find one obstacle to be more challenging than another. For us, I would say just being that there were several women involved, we all just had to make sure we got our chapter in at the set deadline, and that, the product was what we wanted the product to be, because at the end of the day, you really, you got to make sure that the book you're putting out, the product you're putting out, it's going to have value to someone, right? Because if you're not adding value to the marketplace, if you're not giving people content that they need in a unique form, then the message gets lost, it gets ignored. So it's really about making sure that final product is what you want it to be.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that has worked well.
Yes. So the book came out last October of 2018, and so it came out as a physical book available on Amazon and also the Kindle. And I also believe there's like a deal that the woman who started this whole thing, and instead of just saying she, Marcia Guerrier, the founder of the Women on the Rise Network, as well as the 5th Annual Women on the Rise Forum and Expo. She essentially gathered me, amongst other ladies, to co-author this book. And so she laid out kind of a marketing schedule for us and said, this is when the book is going to launch. Here are creatives, like images that were essentially, I guess, how would I say it? It's creatives that were specific to each of the authors. So it either had our picture and a quote, or our picture and maybe like a tidbit of the book. And so we were all kind of tasked to share this out on certain days, like especially when the book was live. We all had to kind of promote on our social media channels. And then also what she did that was interesting is she had the book set at a certain price, and then she dropped it down to, have kind of a sale, like a kind of a fire sale, just to kind of get the word out there. And I think on that day, we became, one of the top, I forget if it was the top 10 or top 20. It might have been the top, ebook sales on Amazon for that day. So just by mere fact of kind of, not necessarily only being such a stickler to like, oh, I can only sell my book at a certain price, but like really focusing on, well, what do I want out of this, right? Do I want to make sure I get my $10 or my $15 out of the book, or is my goal to get the book as far and as wide as possible? By going that route, I think we were able to make an impact. We were able to now then be able to all co-authors, we're bestsellers on Amazon because our book was a bestseller. And I think that was a really interesting and effective marketing tool. Also, by imploring us to use creatives that promoted our unique sections of the book by incorporating certain quotes, by incorporating our thoughts. I think that from a social media perspective, that was a really good opportunity for people to see. Like, it's not just one book, but you're hearing from different women's stories. We all have different journeys with entrepreneurship. We all have different challenges and obstacles we've dealt with as business owners or, women in our lives. And so I think utilizing those two marketing tactics really helped get the word out more and probably helped us have this conversation itself.
Absolutely. And one of the best strategies, too, is the fact that it wasn't just one author. You had 5 authors that were out there to promote it. Now, we were talking before the show about our 100-person Get Published business book that we're going to be launching this summer. And one of the biggest factors that we have is the fact that we're going to have 100 different people promoting this book. So you can really take advantage of social media algorithms and using that, plus utilizing the traditional book launch that we're going to be using. It really is a great combination. I think you guys saw that very clearly too, with having those different infographics and promoting them and do it consistently, and having 5 of you do it. It really does just spread the good news all over the place.
Absolutely, it is. And that's such a cool, the idea of thinking about 100 people promoting one thing at once. Like, you guys can definitely like dominate Twitter if you all do stuff on the same day. Like, you can dominate social media. You can demand attention very easily when you have more people behind something, and you have different voices that are all like they're all going to be able to share a message, a joint message, but then a unique message as well. So that's such a cool product idea, and congratulations. I tip my hat to you. That's really cool.
Well, and another thing we're going to do, similar to what you mentioned too, we're having custom infographics created too, where we're going to customize it like for each author, and then we're also going to have some general ones too. And just by doing that, it's going to spread all over the place. It's so nice. It's not, you don't even have to spend a lot of money on the social media side of it. You just have to put in a little sweat equity. And when you have 100 people doing it, it's essentially like having 100 ambassadors, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, where you guys had your group. It really does make a difference versus just having one author.
Absolutely. It's so for the people that I work with, I'm always telling them over and over and over again that, it's so much easier to build upon existing communities and networks. Mm-hmm. And so when you say that you're going to have a book with 100 different authors, that means that you're not starting from level 0. You have 100 people who all have at least hundreds, if not thousands of people following them, if not millions, right? So you're building on 100 plus existing networks. That's very, very cool. And it allows you, like I said, to really command attention. And that's the hardest thing with marketing and business, right? Because there's so much content out there. whether it's good, bad, you agree, don't agree. But the point is, I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges as a marketer or as an advertiser, to just get people's attention, because people are inundated with too much content, and they're inundated with their lives, and, oh, I got soccer practice, got to feed the dog, got to make ballet class, I got to travel to Hong Kong. Like, everyone's doing so many different things at once. How can you take them to just take a moment and look at something? It's a lot easier to grab someone's attention when you have 100+ people going around and saying, hey, have you heard about this? Hey, and you're like, oh, I have heard about this. And then word of mouth travels, and it just becomes like organic success.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of books, what I'd like to ask you is, what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Ooh, I love that question. Okay, so I've been an avid reader since I was a child. Unfortunately, I grew up in, not unfortunately, but I grew up in Manhattan, which is, beloved city, New York, right? But unfortunately, I say that because I didn't allow myself to, like, really be a kid. Like, instead of, like, going out and playing, I stayed indoors. I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of poetry writing stories, playing with my dolls, watching a bunch of HBO. Should have been outside exercising. But one thing I would say is I had a lot of time to read, and my favorite book is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I think that for me, when I was introduced to this book by my father, I just fell in love with Bilbo Baggins. I fell in love with just this story that this author created. He was a genius. He created lands and maps and language, and it's one of the best books you could ever read if you like kind of the fantasy genre. And for me, I guess the biggest lesson I learned from Bilbo Baggins, which I'm not sure if you thought I was going to mention that, but why not? For me, I guess I learned that you can surprise yourself. Right, Bilbo was a hobbit who had, first breakfast, then second breakfast, then first lunch, then second lunch. He was very complacent in his Hobbitville where he lived, right? He was living a life of just kind of regularness. And then here comes Gandalf, this, like, tremendous wizard who's like, hey, Bilbo, I kind of need you to go on this journey. He's like, what? And so totally disrupts his entire life, and he goes on this journey that could have killed him over and over and over again, but he surprised himself over and over and over again. He was able to fight and to be clever and fast, and he saved himself, and he found and discovered a new version of himself by this journey. And I really respected that about him, and I think that we as people can think about that for ourselves. How many times do we discover new things about ourselves by taking on and embarking new adventures and journeys that we initially may think, oh man, I don't know if I can do this, but you do, and you surprise yourself, and you become a stronger person from it, and you become a wiser person. So I think that was my lesson, that, like, you can always surprise yourself, and you can do more than you ever think you can. That is the true beauty and glory of being a human being, and that's why that's my favorite book.
I just keep thinking about second breakfast.
Yeah, hobbits eat a lot. Like, that always stuck out to me, that they always were like, lunch, what about second lunch? I was like, wait, what? This is amazing. We should, but I mean, I'm not going to talk about nutrition because I know people go in a frenzy when you talk about food and you don't say the right things. But all I'll say is, it's a really fun read. It's a challenging read. It's definitely a dense book, and the English is, like proper English. It's not what people are writing on Twitter and Instagram. It's like actual words, not acronyms and shortened abbreviations. So it's also a really good book if you're looking to kind of bulk up on your English and grammar. It's a phenomenal read for that as well.
Well, it's a funny thing, when I was teaching, that was like the running joke we would have. We'd always talk about, because as a teacher, people are always bringing in food, whether it's the PTA or parents. There was always food. So we'd always joke around about having second breakfast and second lunch. And it was always The Hobbit that we were referencing.
Yes, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that book is everything. And then, of course, the series as a whole is phenomenal as well. So, anyone listening, if you haven't read The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings and you've just watched the movies, read the books. Those books
Oh,
are
yeah.
magical, and it's just so worth it to read it, and read it multiple times.
Well, for our final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
Mm. So I have to say thank you, Nike, for the simple quote of "Just do it." I know you might have
It's my seventh book.
expected for me to say. I know I'm all about surprises, guys. So for me, when you think, I mean, there's so many quotes out there. I mean, I'm a devout, passionate fan of like Maya Angelou, and again, I love all these different women. Eleanor Roosevelt. There's so many women, powerful women or powerful leaders that have said really prophetic things in our life. But like for me, I always want, when people ask me, but what's your favorite quote? I want to have something that's very tangible, that's very easy, and it's very direct. And Just Do It by Nike, like they nailed it. Just do it. Just write your book. Just live the life you want. Just go outside and change, right? Just do it, and it's something that anyone can hold on to. And, I'm not necessarily like an ambassador for Nike. If people are like, I wonder why she's saying that. Like, nope. Just literally, when I read that, I can't even remember how old that, I mean, I think that's been their like thing for many, many years. But when I first saw it, I was just like, that makes sense. Just do it. Right? Like, don't stand in your own way. Stop blocking your own blessings. Just do it, and stop talking about it. Just do it. And I love it. It motivates me when I think about it, when I hear it, when I see it. I'm just like, enough. Just do it.
Well, and you are preaching to the choir. That's actually how I wrote my first book. I was watching, of all things, that crazy Shia LaBeouf video that came out a few years ago. It's like, just do it, and he just does all that, kind of goes off and rants and raves. But I was like, it really resonated with me. He's like, when you talk about stop giving up, I'm like, why do I keep putting this dang book off? And so I wrote the book, became a bestseller. Then I wrote my second book, and then my third book. But in the second book is called Motivation 101, and one of the chapters was called Just Do It. And I wanted to expand on that. So I think it was my seventh book. That became my actual book, Just Do It, where we were talking about goals and procrastination. So you're talking to someone who actually has a book called Just Do It. So it definitely resonates.
That's awesome. Yay. Go you. Go Nike. That's awesome. And it's true, because I think, sometimes in life sometimes people have like accused me or just generally people, things in life aren't that simple. Sometimes they are. I think sometimes, as great as mankind can be, we complicate a lot of things and we build systems of lies and deceits upon each other. And we say, we can't do this because we got to do this. Or how about you just do it, right? Like, how about you just make a change and see how that goes and keep moving forward and stop thinking about all of the limitations that literally exist in your mind. Because just because they exist in your mind does not mean they actually exist in reality. And sometimes there are obligations and challenges, but, we got to keep moving forward. You just got to do it, and you just got to keep moving.
Absolutely. And I'll say this, too, as someone who is, coach people, I take care of people with our publishing stuff, but the main thing I always talk about is simplify, simplify, simplify. That's what I did as a teacher. That's what I've done as a coach, and that's what I've done as a book publisher, is simplify, simplify, simplify. Don't overcomplicate it. Simplify. It's really the main thing.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
And I also won four pairs of Jordans and 2 pairs of the Jordan 13. So trust me, I'm all about the Nike myself.
Absolutely, yeah. My husband's he's more big on the shoe piece of it than I am. I don't know, I'm kind of a widespread shopper. I'm just like, for me, a shout out to DSW. I love all the brands that DSW carries, and I'm all about just kind of finding all different types of shoes. But for me and Nike, I really have always really appreciated that phrase. Yeah, it's so motivational. Great job, whoever came up with that for marketing. Good job.
Hey, he just did it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, Natasha, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
Yes. So the best way for people to find me is two spots, actually. If you are interested in learning about my platform that has primarily focused for like women empowerment and, you know, changing your career or figuring out ways to be happier and more fulfilled and purposeful in your life, go to dressingroom8.com. But I'd also love for people to find me on my podcast. It's totally other platform that I've developed with my husband. It's called Woke and Free. So WOKENFREE.com. And if you're looking for a podcast that will entertain and educate you and probably make you laugh every single time you listen, come on down, wokeandfree.com. It'll be really, really fun. We have a new episode every Woke and Free Wednesday. So every Wednesday is a new episode. And that has been such a wonderful journey. As you know, is creating a podcast. There's nothing like it from a media perspective. It's a really cool new way to connect with people, to grow your own voice, and build a community.
Well, Natasha, I want to thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You have a great day.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how you can be featured in our brand new Get Published business book, go to getpublishedpodcast.com.